Our last section for chapter 4, and then the proofs will start to dwindle. So we're talking about congruency and overlapping triangles. So far we have talked about when two triangles share a side. So basically if I draw out two triangles and they have one overlapping side. Today we're talking about when two triangles overlap and they share more than a common side. So what common angle do the two triangles share? So one thing to help you, you should always trace out the triangles you're talking about. So I should trace out in the order of these points. So A to C, D. That's one triangle that I'm looking at. My other triangle is E, C, B. Now when I'm looking at those two triangles, I don't see a full length that is used for both triangles, but I do see one angle that is used for both triangles, and that would be angle C. So if I look here, the angle that's shared is angle C, because it's in both triangles. So I could say angle C is congruent to angle C, and it's still going to be the same thing. It's still going to be that the two of them are reflexive. What common side do these two triangles share? Again, you should always trace out the triangles that it's stating. So if I trace it out, ABD is this triangle right here, because it's easier to see once you trace them out, and DCA, what the common side is. You might have looked at this picture and thought, oh, it's going to be the diagonal line. Well, once I trace them out, I see that the line that they share is AD. So AD is going to be congruent to AD. Remember, whenever something's congruent to itself, it's always reflexive. What is the common side in two other angles? I want you to pause the video right now and attempt to solve this problem by yourself. If you trace out the two triangles, you should have gotten that AB would be overlapping, so AB would be congruent to AB. Reflexive. Here we have a picture and we need to solve this proof. Looking at the proof statement, I am guessing that I'm going to have to use CPCTC. So first I'm going to have to state that two triangles are congruent, and then I could say that proof. So my first statement is always my given. Now when you have two triangles that overlap, I would always draw the two triangles separately. So I'm going to draw one triangle over here, and then I'm going to draw another triangle over here, just because that's where I have space. It's fine if they don't look the same, because basically you're just wanting to have a reference to look back at, and basically help you figure out what do you have. So now I drew this two triangles separately. Now I'm going to write in what I have given. I have ZXW, so ZXW, this angle right here, is going to be congruent to YWX. So YWX, this angle right here. And I also have stated that ZWX is congruent to YXW. YXW. Now it's easier to see what I'm looking at. Now, one thing when you do draw your two triangles separately, it's harder for you to see the overlapping triangles, or what overlaps. So here's one triangle that I'm dealing with, and here's another triangle that I'm dealing with. Now that I do that, I can see that WX is going to be congruent to WX, and the reason is going to be reflexive. So I'm going to draw that in on my picture on both sides. Oh, look at that. Golly gee, I have 2 or 3 congruent parts in each triangle. So I'm going to say my triangle ZWX is going to be congruent to triangle. Remember, you have to go in the correct order. I started with Z. That should be in the same spot as Y. Then I went to W. That should be in the same spot as X. And then my W should be last. And the reason I say that is because I have an angle, and then a side, and then an angle. Now that I have my congruent triangles, I'm going to make sure, okay, I need to make sure that ZW is in the same spot as YX. So ZW are my first two letters, and YX are my first two numbers. Well, golly gee jeeper. Now I can state that the two of them are congruent. And why would that be true? Because corresponding parts of congruent triangles are congruent. And look at that. Whenever you're dealing with overlapping triangles, you should always trace out the triangle and draw two separate triangles. It will help you tremendously. Have a wonderful evening. Make sure to fill out the Google Doc form.